Hi, my name is Isaac Moldavsky, and today I'm going to be showing you how to use methods in Ruby. Specifically, how to create methods, why we want methods, how to add parameters to methods, and how to add return values to methods. So, first off, Ruby is a programming language that's known for its syntactic sugar and just programmer happiness. That's why I like it. It's just really similar to English and really clean and straightforward to read for the most part and to type. So, for example, if we wanted to print something out, you could just say print hello. And we run this in terminal. You just say Ruby and then the name of the program right here, and it says hello. And you'll notice that the rest of this is on the same line. So what we're going to do instead for this tutorial is we're going to do puts, which is a little less natural sounding, but it does add this new line, so the program is going to output more cleanly. So that's why we're using puts here instead of the more natural sounding print. So let's say we make a program that is supposed to simulate a cat, right? So we're going to say puts hello, and the cat can speak English, but in between every English statement it has to say a meow, right? Because it's a cat. So say my name is Henry, and then another puts meow. One more statement, I like to eat tuna. And one last meow. So we run this code and prints these out, all these statements. So the program works, but you might notice that we repeated this line 3 times. And this can be a sort of code smell, it's an indicator that something can be fixed in the code maybe. So in general, if you have a lot of repetition like this in a program, you might want to abstract it. You might want to extract the code and put it in a method, so you don't have to reuse the same code over and over. Because it might not just be one line at a time. It might be maybe this is all like the cat's greeting, and you don't want to have to copy and paste the same lines, the same 6 lines over and over and over. So what we're going to do to take repeated code and put it into one place that you can just simply call, we're going to make a method for this. So a method is a block of code that you can call from elsewhere in the program. So in Ruby, the way we make a method is we say def, method name, and then end. So it says def says we're going to make a method. Right after def is what type of method is that going to be? So, or not what type, what is the name of that method? So right here it's method name. We'd want to call that meow in this case. And then we do end to say there's the end of the method. Then the rest of the program is after that. So what do we want meow to do? We want the repeated code to be in here. So instead of using the repeated code every time, we can just use meow. So we're going to take this, we're going to put it in meow. So actually, if we put this back for now, we'll see we haven't actually used the method yet. So it still runs the same way. So what we want to do is take this repeated code and we're going to say we want to replace it with meow. And the nice thing about Ruby is you don't have to have any special characters or anything to call a method. If you want to just call it plainly like this, you can just say meow, just the method name. So what this does, every time the program sees meow, it's going to say, okay, let's see if there's a method called meow. And it sees this method, this block of code, so it says, all right, we're going to run the block of code that's inside this method called meow. So it's basically as if every time you call meow, it's saying, all right, where's the block of code inside meow? And at this point in the program, we're going to run this code. So if we run this, you'll see that it has the same output, which is exactly what we wanted. So now instead of having the same put statement 3 times, we only have the same method call 3 times, which is a little bit better. So what else can you do with methods? Right now, this method is going to do the same thing every time, which, might be useful for some things, but if you have slightly different code, right? What if you don't want it to put meow every single time, but you want it to output something that's really similar? So I'll show you what I mean here. So let's say we have a program that greets people, right? We're going to say, hello Isaac. Hello, Faith. And hello, Brandon. So in this code, right, that outputs all these hellos. So what you might notice is we have the same puts hello something every time, right? And the thing about this is we do have some repeated code. We actually have this exact part is repeated, but there's still something different about it. The name is different, right? So what we need to do for this is we're going to make another method. Def greeting. Say def greet person. So the method name should also be, it doesn't have to be super detailed. You don't want it to be like 20, 30 characters long. You want it to be something easily typable, but also somewhat descriptive of what it does. So greet person. And so we want to do puts hello something, right? We want to add something onto the end of this hello. So the way we're going to do that is with a method parameter or a method argument. So the way we add arguments to methods in Ruby is we're going to do parentheses after this, and we're going to name the argument. So the argument name can be whatever you want. We could have it be, in this case, we're going to say person. So we're going to greet a person, and we're passing in that person to be greeted. So what this does, if I called greet person Isaac, then inside this method, person is going to have the value of Isaac. So if we say hello plus person, then when I call it with Isaac, it's essentially saying take this, and this goes right here. So we're going to replace person. Wherever it appears, we're going to place it with Isaac. So that's essentially what it's doing for this method call. But if I call greet person Faith, then it's sorry, it's going to do the same thing, but it's going to replace person with Faith, and then the same thing with Brandon. So this is still taking the repeated code, which is right here, but the part that's different every time is right here. So that's why we add the argument. So when you pass in a different argument to it each time, it gives it different output, but it still keeps the part that's repeated. So that still accomplishes the original goal. So if we run this, it has the same output, and we have a little bit more code actually, because the greet person is a little bit longer than puts. But the point of this is that you're not necessarily just going to have a one-line method. You might have lots of instructions that you need to run within this one method, and the methods can, this is a little bit contrived, but in general, methods are usually going to help clean up your program. They're going to make it more readable and more organized. And if you had a lot of stuff in that method that needed to be called, then it's going to save you a lot of space and a lot of time saved on reading the program. So let's move on to another example. Let's say we have a right triangle. So right triangles have a special property about them, and it was discovered by Pythagoras, I believe. So this is called Pythagorean theorem. So we have sides, or the legs are A and B, hypotenuse C. So this is in a right triangle. I'm not gonna try to make a text picture out of this right now, but you have the legs that intersect at the right angle, and then the diagonal, the hypotenuse side, is equal to a squared plus b squared is equal to the hypotenuse squared. So if we wanted to find the hypotenuse of a right triangle given the two legs, we could say C is equal to the square root, and this isn't how you do it in Ruby. I'll show you how to do that in a bit. Square root of a squared plus b squared. So we have that formula, so now we need to make a method to do that, right? So how are we going to do this? We can do, let's say, also one thing that's going to be useful in a minute If you want to declare variables in Ruby, you can say just a equals 5, for example. So this is telling Ruby this variable is named a, and we're going to set it to the value of 5. So let's make a method called hypotenuse. Let's say hypotenuse from legs. So this is descriptive of what the method does. So we're going to say A, side B. These aren't really great variable names, but there's really not that much you can describe about the legs of a triangle. You could say leg 1, leg 2 if you wanted. Yeah. So how are we going to calculate this? We're going to say, we're going to put, and then the way you do this in Ruby, you don't need to worry about this right now, but you do math.square root to calculate the square root of something. And if I did a caret 2 like that, it doesn't actually square the number. It does this like binary operation on it that you don't need to know for this either. So for now, we're just going to do a times a plus b times b. That's the same as squaring it. So again, this is the same as before. We just did def method name, and then this time we have 2 parameters, so a and b instead of just 1. And yeah, sorry, the way you separate parameters is you have just a comma between them, just like that. And then again, they do have to be named differently than each other, but you just add a comma and just add the next argument, the next parameter after that. That's how you do it. So similarly before, we're doing puts, and then we're just doing a little operation around with the parameters. So we're getting the square root of a squared plus b squared. So if we run this, hypotenuse from legs, say 3 and 4, I think is the right triangle. So we run this program. Cool. So it gives us 5.0, and the reason it's 5.0 and not 5 is the square root method in Ruby actually outputs a decimal number, because the square root of a lot of numbers is a decimal rather than just an integer. So yeah, that's not something to worry about right now. So we have hypotenuse from legs 3 and 4, but what if we want, I'm sorry, someone's calling me. So what if we want to do stuff with this value? Because right now this prints it out, right? We have 5.0, but this is just printed out on the screen. None of the program actually has access to this. It's like the program is telling them, the program is telling the computer, calculate this, just not even calculate, it's just saying call this method. And the code right here, it doesn't know what this method does, only the method knows what it does. So right here, we're not getting anything back from it. It's just printing it out to the screen, and we don't have access to that. So for now, this is fine, but what if we wanted to have access to it? What if, for example, you want to print out, and to say the hypotenuse is, and then whatever the hypotenuse is, and then the side lengths are 3, 4, and then this is going to be whatever the hypotenuse is, right? So if we want to do this, you can't like put hypotenuse from legs here, because that doesn't return anything. It just prints it out to the screen. So what we want to do is we want to add a return value to the hypotenuse from legs method. So what this does is the method doesn't necessarily just put something, it doesn't necessarily just print something to the screen. It actually gives back a value to the main part of the program. So what this would mean is, essentially when you call this, you can imagine this being replaced with 5.0. So if, for example, we have variable hypotenuse equals, hypotenuse length, let's say, equals hypotenuse from legs, we pass in 3 and 4. If you pass in these numbers and the method stays like it is, if you returned it, it would be equivalent to essentially saying this is equal to 5.0. So the way we do this is we have this calculated value, the math.square root a times a plus b times b, and right now we're only printing it out. So instead of printing it out, we just want to return the value for the rest of the program to have access to it. So when you do that is you can just say return math.scroot, etc. So again, if we did that, this would be equivalent to just saying 5.0 in place of that. So let's see how that works. If we print out puts hypotenuse length, and yeah, this is, as opposed to just doing puts and then quotes around it, you can just do puts on a variable, and that's also going to print out. So say this, then it prints out 5.0. So what this means is we have access to this outside of the method, right? So the method, this method shouldn't need to do puts the hypotenuse is, puts the side lengths are, because the method shouldn't care about that. All this method should care about is calculating the hypotenuse given the legs. So it shouldn't be concerned about the rest of the program. So now that we have the value from it, this part of the program should be concerned about it. So we're going to uncomment these. And now what we can do is the hypotenuse is plus hypotenuse length. And same thing right here. And one quick thing, because hypotenuse length is a number, we're going to have to do 2s to make it fit with the string, because we're adding it onto a string, which is, string is like a bunch of words, a bunch of characters. Yeah, just that's what this does. Don't worry about it right now. Sorry, it's my friend's birthday and I was just with her. Henry, can you tell her I'll be done in a few minutes? Sorry, he's crying over done. I'm really sorry about this. Okay, so we have those two s's and we have hypotenuse length concatenated with this put statement. So what we do now, if we run it again, we'll see the hypotenuse is 5.0 and the side lengths are 3, 4, and 5.0. So we're able to have this method calculate the value and return it to the main program. So now we're able to do whatever we want with this calculation. So this just gives us more freedom to do what we want with the method return values. And you guys good? Okay. So yeah, return values are very useful in a lot of methods. For example, you could return true or false if something is true or false that you're checking. You could return true or false if the method failed or succeeded at what it wanted to do. And again, like if you're doing a big calculation, you probably want that number back to do something with. So this is one of the main reasons that return values from methods are very useful. And one more cool thing about Ruby is you actually don't need to specify the return. If you did just this, and this isn't always true, there are some special cases about this, but if this is the last statement you have in the method, like this is the only thing in the method, so that's why it works right now. If we just do this, it actually still outputs 5.0. So that's just another nice thing about Ruby. If you have just a short, quick method like this, you don't even need to add the return keyword. So that's just a nice thing to have. Alright, so that's been all the video. So just a quick recap of what we went over. You want methods in Ruby. One big reason is just methods in any programming language. You want methods to take code that you've used all over that has been code that has been repeated, and you can extract it into the method, so you can just call the method easily rather than repeating the same code, the same line or lines of code over and over and over. You can also add arguments to the methods right here, which arguments allow you to pass things into the method so the method can perform specifically based on the inputs. And then if you want something to be output from the method rather than the method just printing something out, we can add return or just do it by default sometimes, but for now I would say just leave the return in there. And this gives the value of the method, which whatever value you want to return from the method, essentially. In this case, it's the calculated value from the method. It returns that to the main program, and you can store it in a variable like this. And if you did want to just do this right here, you can actually replace this, because like I said before, this is the same thing as actually, yeah, this shouldn't be there, but this is essentially the same as just putting 5.0 here. Like for these purposes, you could do 5.0 2s, and it's the same thing. So just imagine that the return value of the method is saying wherever the method call was, we're just replacing this whole call with that value. So it just gives it back to the program in that way. And lastly, we didn't go into actual method documentation here, but if you do if you make a method, you want the name to be not too long, but somewhat descriptive of just a little bit, quick bit about what it does. And you can read into the method, you can read into the code or documentation yourself to see what it actually does. But it shouldn't be something like happy birthday or something, because this isn't related at all to what the method does. So you want your method names to be somewhat descriptive. All right, that was it. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and I look forward to whatever feedback you have. Have a good day.